race in Kentucky against the incumbent Senator Whitney in the Kentucky State Senate in District 3. So Amanda is running on a platform of many things, but one that is on the mind of everyone right now that I definitely wanted to talk about with everyone is school choice, and should we be sending our children back to school now? And so, Amanda, I just kind of want to kick it off to you. And why has school choice been important to you for a very long time, not since just the current COVID crisis?
Yeah, Ryan, thank you for having me tonight. So school choice for me is a very personal issue. It's been a very personal issue for a long time. I have children that I, have in school. Right now they're in high school, but when they were smaller and they were in elementary school, I was faced with the decision of whether or not to send them to public school. And initially I sent my son to public school for kindergarten and first grade. And he just really kind of had a difficult time with it, not difficulty with learning or with the curriculum. He was pulling straight A's. Everything was fine in that aspect. It was just that he couldn't sit still. He was a typical little 5-6-year-old boy, just very energetic, very, wants to get into things, wants to discover things. He's very, very bright. And so he's always curious and getting into things. And back then I ran into the issue of him completing his work ahead of time. And instead of the teachers being equipped enough to say, hey, he's sitting here waiting on the rest of the class to finish their work, and he's getting himself into mischief because of it, and able to redirect his attention elsewhere, they gave me the solution of we're just going to tell him to put his head on the desk and just be patient. And anybody who knows little 5 or 6-year-old little boys, that's just kind of ridiculous. They can't do that.
Not going to happen.
Right. And so then it turned into the issue of, well, we think he's hyperactive. And his teacher called me his first grade year about halfway through and said, have you thought about putting him on medication? And once that discussion came up, I was kind of appalled that, that was the go-to right off the bat. That was the go-to, was to just medicate. There obviously is nothing wrong with my child as far as learning, where I needed to send him to a doctor to have him diagnosed for any kind of learning issues or speech issues or anything like that. It was just,
he wasn't being challenged in his environment.
Right. He was not being challenged in his environment. And so, I decided at that point to look at alternatives for schooling, and I ended up having to pull him out and homeschool him. And so I did that along with his little sister for about 5 or 6 years, mainly through their elementary school years. It was a great decision for us. But at the time, I was really disappointed at the options that I had. I had public school, private Christian school, which is, there's tuition involved. It's very expensive, and homeschool. That was my 3 options. In this part of Kentucky, they don't have magnet schools. They don't have charter schools. They don't have alternative schools like Montessori or Waldorf or, alternative learning centers where, they focus on the child and what the child needs and what the child enjoys.
So your 3 choices were essentially the government, the church, or you.
Right. And so it made me kind of frustrated. And I just thought, how many other parents look at this and they're forced to only be stuck with public school because they have to work full time. They don't have somebody at home to help them. I was very fortunate that I had somebody at home with me that would help me with childcare and things like that, and that I could stay home with them and homeschool them. But not a lot of parents have that option. And so now we're at this conundrum here. Now we're 10 years later. We're at this conundrum with COVID, and you have parents who are saying absolutely they don't want to send their children back to public school. You have parents who are saying that they don't want to send their children back to a public school where they're sitting behind plexiglass and they're having to be masked. And how are these, especially the younger ones, how are they going to be able to handle being distanced and keeping their hands to themselves and keeping themselves clean, and just the things that, the challenges that you face when you're dealing with a group of 15 to 20 children, who don't have that.
In some cases. Yeah.
Right. That don't have that wherewithal of like knowing that they can't be touching each other, and they want to be social creatures because that's how we are. And then we have the option, thankfully in Christian County they have released just yesterday where they're going to offer in school instruction traditionally, or they're going to allow parents to have the option of public schooling at home, basically a non-traditional instruction of online public school, which is great. I'm so glad that they're offering that now.
Hmm.
I'm just really frustrated that that was not an option 10 years ago when I was dealing with the things that I was dealing with. So progress, but progress because of crisis.
Yes, and that's unfortunate that we are in a spot where we actually can make some choices that do give parents more choice in how their children are going to be educated. Um, you know, some people are going to ask, well, why aren't we talking about abolishing the Department of Education, as that's a common libertarian platform? But you are running for a state Senate seat rather
Right,
than
right.
a
I can only
federal
do
Senate
so
seat.
much.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So, within the context of Kentucky, what sort of changes do you think that we should be able to make in the state of Kentucky as kind of a ground up effort for education reform in the state? What do you think would be
Certainly.
important for your people?
So I feel that the first thing is just looking at expanding choices for parents, and taking a compassionate approach to it. Of we maybe need to start looking at smaller class sizes so that children are allowed to have a little more individual one-on-one time with teachers. I feel that part of the problem is that the classes are so big that some kids do get pushed to the wayside, or get labeled as difficult, and so I just feel like that is a great place to start. Also, I believe that funding for teachers in classrooms needs to be overhauled. I feel that, I see a lot of teachers that complain about how their budgets are very restrictive. They're spending money out of their own pockets for their classrooms and for the materials that they need. And I just say, well, where is the money going? There's budget there, so why isn't it being put in place in a spot where it needs to be? And so I
Hmm.
feel that we do need to be auditing, local school board budgets, and that's something that we can do from a state standpoint. And then also, again, just supporting parents in all of their choices, supporting teachers, supporting students, and just looking at it from an individual perspective of, a case by case basis, and pulling the Department of Education out of it and leaving it up to the local communities, and meeting things at the local level of, okay, what might be good in Christian County might not work for Todd County or Logan County or other counties. And so it should be a county by county viewpoint, even a town by town, city by city viewpoint, that, people need to get together and just start looking at it from a smaller perspective.
And I think one of the important things there is there should always be an opt-out option for parents who don't feel
Certainly.
comfortable with what the situation is. And I think truancy laws can affect that too. And I think that we should definitely consider some options along there. Do you have any opinions along those lines of
Definitely.
truancy?
I'm flabbergasted every year when my kids are back in public school now. They're in high school. That's of their own choice. I did give them the choice once they got to the end of middle school, beginning of high school. Did you want to stay being homeschooled? Did you want to go back to public school? They're getting older. They want to, hang out with their friends. And there are some things in public school that are very good for them that are things that I can't provide from home. STEM learning and things like that are great
Hmm.
programs that they have. But I'm always frustrated every year because they get like 10 absent days a year. And then after that, like if you're, day 11 or day 12, they start sending letters and bugging you about, why are your kids past the 10-day allotment? And I just think that's silly because especially in a military community, a lot of times parents want to go on, block leave. They want to take a vacation. I knew a gal that she had taken her daughter out of school the week before holiday break to go on vacation to her family a couple states away. And she ended up getting hassled by the school board after the fact that she had pulled her daughter out 3 or 4 days extra out of the school year to go travel. And she was like, but they were going to have like no work the last week of school. Like the teachers even told me it's just going to be kind of this free for all, it's right before break time. They kind of
Hmm.
slack off on their work, and she ended up getting hassled for it because, she took her child to go visit her family for the holidays. And so I just think things like that are just so restrictive and so difficult, and it adds an extra layer of stress on parents and students, and that's just not right. It's just not fair. So.
No, it's not. And I think anybody can relate to that. So
Right.
let's go back to a little bit about your race. You are running in you're near Fort Campbell area in
Yes.
Kentucky, I guess. So that is also another thing you've talked about quite a bit is veterans benefits and being able to get veterans the help that they need before and after and during their service. So what are some of the proposals that you have at a state level that you can do that would allow veterans in your area to get the services that they need that they were promised when they enlisted?
So definitely, I feel that the VA, it does not do a very good job by our veterans. I read a lot of things about, long wait times, difficulty getting appointments, things like that. And again, I feel it's best to just leave it as a community-based situation where, there are some local community programs that are in place to help veterans, and I'm 100% for that. Anything that's going to put the power back into the hands of the local people that are having to deal with these issues, I feel is really important. So I'm 100% for supporting local organizations that want to step in and say, hey, these are the programs we're going to have in place to help veterans. And there are some, but there needs to be more. And I
Mm-hmm.
think there needs to be more outreach to veterans as far as these programs go, that we need to support that as a community, and we need to step up and say, okay, these are the things that you have available to you, and maybe outreach to them, because some veterans are going to go, either they don't know about them or they know about them, but they're maybe afraid to access that, that thing. And so there needs to be a way for us to connect with these people and say, hey, we're here, this is what we have for you. Let's try to help you and take care of you.
Okay. Yeah. So in your area there, how Kentucky right now, I know one of the big issues is just the government and the opinions of the forced versus should we be involuntary. I know the Libertarian Party of Kentucky has filed multiple lawsuits in Kentucky against some of the restrictions here. How do you have any opinions on how this is affecting your local community and the economy of your local businesses and what we should be doing different, perhaps?
Right. So I know I work in Tennessee, actually. I'm right on the border of Tennessee and Kentucky. So I work in Tennessee, and I kind of was jokingly making the comment to people that there just seems to be, there was such a difference for a while as far as the atmosphere in local businesses in Kentucky versus in Tennessee. That in,
Hmm.
you go to a grocery store in Kentucky and it was very somber and very, announcements over the loudspeaker about keeping your distance and sanitizing and wearing a mask, and those are all things that are great, and you should follow them if that's the advice that's given to you. But I just felt like you could feel the restrictiveness of Kentucky versus Tennessee, where I would go into a store and it was kind of business as usual, and everybody's just kind of doing their thing as usual, and people are still talking to one another. And so I just feel like there's this air of restriction in Kentucky, and that has happened. I know they did just announce today that the Supreme Court had said that Bashir's executive order was going to stand, unfortunately, as far as public mask wearing. I do not
Hmm.
support that. I feel that, if a business wants to make the call that, patrons need to be masked when they enter, that's their call to make. That's not the governor's call to make. That's not something that we should be required of as citizens. We should be able to make our own choices about that. We should, be able to say that we're responsible for ourselves, and therefore, yes, you want to wear a mask, or no, you can't wear a mask, or you don't want to wear a mask. That's your choice. Be responsible for yourself and your own health.
Okay. Well, all right. We lost Amanda for just a moment, and she is reconnecting right now. There she is.
It just fell on me. All right.
Oh, that happens. That happens. So, you were just on I could feel the passion that you had in there for the freedom of individual choice. It just took
Right.
the camera right off the desk.
It did.
So, so along those lines of individual choice, what sort of things do you think that as libertarians we can do better than the Republicans and Democrats that they claimed that they can do, but we have the opportunity to actually build those bridges and get some of the things done. I know I heard in a story of yours, one of the reasons you were inspired to run was your opponent, which once again is only a Republican. There is not a Democrat,
Right.
and this guy ran unopposed last time, so he's never faced an opponent. I know you said that there was some apathy in some of the actions he was taking. What are some of the things that you think you could do different than he has, or what do you think he has stalled on that he shouldn't have?
Right. My opponent is Whitney Westerfield out of Hopkinsville, and he has been in office for 7 years now. And I just feel that, he hasn't done well by Kentuckians as far as the medical cannabis bill goes. And I say cannabis because I don't like the term marijuana. I know that's the term that a lot of, oh gosh, that a lot of bureaucrats use, that they want to use that term marijuana. I don't like it. I think it's racially driven. But anyways, he sat on the HB 136 bill that was presented to the Judiciary Committee earlier this year. And that was something that I felt was very important for Kentuckians. There's a large swath of Kentuckians that are patients that would really do well by the possibility of being able to have access to cannabis, and they don't. It's illegal in this state. There's no medical legislation in place. We're far behind the curve of other states that have, medical legislation, recreational legislation. And I'm of the mind that all cannabis use is on some form medical, recreational, medical. They want to put a divide there. I don't really think that there's a divide. I feel that if you're self-medicating with cannabis, there's probably a reason for it, whether you want to call it recreational or not. And again, back with the, veterans situation, I believe that, that would help a lot of our veterans, that there's an option there that they're not afforded in this
Hmm.
state. And that's just atrocious to me that, there are veterans that are suffering from PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, things of that nature. And they're pushed on pharmaceutical drugs instead of an alternative option, a natural option that could really help them and wouldn't be so terrible for them to mix with alcohol, unlike pharmaceutical drugs.
Absolutely. So, and on that, Kentucky's kind of had little bit of a revolution in the industrial hemp market.
Oh,
I
certainly.
think that there's some opportunity for Kentucky to maybe transition from. I know tobacco farmers have been hit hard. I know coal mining has been hit hard. Do you think there's an opportunity for it to actually be a thriving industry in Kentucky?
Definitely. It's starting. It's already starting. I can only see it getting better from here on out. The government just needs to get out of the way at this point and let the consumers drive the market, let them make the choices that they need to make, let the farmers and the agricultural community take advantage of this cash crop. Kentucky soil is made for hemp.
Hmm.
It is a number one. It is the number one cash crop in Kentucky. It was decades ago, and it can be again. The government just needs to get out of the way and just let them grow it and let them manufacture it. And it can be used for so many things, not just medicinally. There's hempcrete. You can use it for
Hmm.
building materials. You can use it for textiles. You can use it for paper. You can use it for plastic. It's biodegradable. It's non-flammable. It's amazing. It's this amazing resource, and we're just starting to be able to touch on it and use it here in Kentucky. And I just feel that Kentucky's economy could benefit from this so much more than it already is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is there any other issues that you think you have an opportunity that you could move forward on, or any policies that libertarians can work really well with that are also really important to your community? Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that I think are your top priorities?
I just feel that, just as a whole, those are the top issues that I stand for. I do also, I'm very pro women's rights. I'm very pro birthing rights. That's another thing that's kind of near and dear to me is, supporting alternatives for birthing options, midwifery, doula support and things like that. I feel that, some places they have put a lot of restrictions on midwives as well. And that's another thing where I feel, that's a woman's choice. It's her body, her birth, her choice on how to do it. And so, again, if the government would just get out of the way and just, you know, stop trying to over-regulate and legislate things and just allow consumers to make their choices for themselves, we could have such a much freer society where people are allowed choice. And that's really the bare bones of the Libertarian Party as a whole, is just personal responsibility and individual choice for yourself.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the Libertarian Party itself. And one of the questions I get all the time, and people in the chat are always going to bring it up too. How can they get involved in their local party? What advice do you have for them to get involved at their level? So, because a lot of them see the presidential campaign and they want to know what they can help, but there are so many down-ticket candidates that can use support out there, including yourself. I'm sure you can use some donation money. For anyone
Certainly.
watching, make sure you go visit Amanda's Facebook page. There's a link to her donation link in there. Make sure you go donate 10, 20, 2,800, whatever you can afford. Just go ahead, put it in there, and let's get her elected. So, sorry, I got sidetracked there. But anyway,
okay.
So back to the question. What advice do you give for people who want to get involved?
I say just reach out to your county party. If you don't have a county party, reach out to your state party and just see where you can best, help out. If you don't have a county party, then maybe look into starting one. Just be involved, be active, take part in discussions on Facebook. Discuss this with people who don't know about libertarianism, because there are a huge amount of people out there who I truly believe are libertarian, and they just don't know it yet. They don't have any idea. They just think these are the two choices that we have. There is no other. And then people find the Libertarian Party and what we stand for, and they go, oh my gosh, I felt like this my entire life. I just never realized there was an actual place for me. And that's kind of how I become a libertarian. Was I actually used to vote Democrat. So I came from a blue state. I came from New York. I moved here to Kentucky in 2006. And I just realized that, both of the two old parties didn't fit the things that I wanted to see happen as far as society goes. And that, the Libertarian Party is about freedom and, again, personal, responsibility, personal choice, prosperity, peace, anything that is important for a thriving society to have, we're willing to offer people. They just need to take a look at us. And then, if they want to be passionate supporters, then just come along and join us and help out any place that you can. We could find something for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm starting to see some comments in the chat here. I just kind of wanted to look through here. Someone says, talking about, and we need to support for our veterans. Talking about teachers. So someone made a comment in here. Now is the time for teachers to actually earn what they're worth. Quit your public school job and charge $250 a week. Do you support teachers' rights to go out and start their own business as a tutor?
Certainly. Oh, of course, 100%. If that's what a teacher wants to do, if they feel that's a better option for them, again, it's about choice for everyone. And I actually know a teacher who has said for quite a few years now that if she had the ability to quit her job at a school and open up her own little private school where she teaches children and she gets, paid probably much more than she makes in the school system, that she would do it in a heartbeat. And I am 100% for that. I feel that, anything that provides more options for parents, students, and teachers, teachers who are passionate about what they're doing, but they feel like they're stuck in this system of Common Core and, standardized curriculum, standardized testing, things that kind of get in the way of what they want to teach and how they want to teach. They should have the option to teach how they want, the way they want, with the curriculum they want, how they see fit, how they want to tailor their classroom. So yes, 100% I'm for that idea, and I really hope more teachers do that. I think that would be great.
All right. Well, everyone, I think that's going to be about it here. Thank you, Amanda, for joining us tonight. Everyone, go visit the link on our website, kick her a donation. Let's help her campaign going here and give Kentucky a second choice in the 3rd District for Senate. And just for everyone, I am going to be live on Sunday with Erica Kolanich of West Virginia. She is running for governor. Monday with... pulling a blank. I'm sorry, Victor, I believe in Georgia, and then Tuesday with Ian Peak in Illinois. So it's going to be 8 p.m. each time every night. So you guys come back, join the live stream, ask questions in the chat, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you. And Amanda, once again, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for